Howdy, howdy, howdy. How's everybody doing?
Hey, everybody.
Alrighty. We're getting a little bit of a slow start tonight, but that's okay. Hey, Brian W. Hey, Brian. John.
Hey, Brian.
Steve's popping in now. Jerry. Hey, y'all doing alright, I see. I survived the storm last night, passed through Georgia's. Of course, it passed south of me, really. I mean, I got rain out of it, but that's all we got. No really high winds or nothing. In fact, today's been a lot windier than what it was last night when the storm come through. But glad to see it move through the Carolinas as fast as it did. They didn't have enough trouble. So, whatever works. How's it going? We'll get a few more in here and I'll ask a question, see what people think about it.
All right.
Start to finish. Alright, let everybody know.
Okay.
Hey, Glenn. Let everybody know we got Joe's Train Room next week on Wednesday night, October 17. So you want to be sure to tune in on that one. Big Bill's working on getting somebody to talk to. Then we got Barry and Mike D. They're going to be coming in probably the end of the month. Do a little talk about running the clinics at the Amherst show, and do a little advertising, of course, about that, since they're going to be running all the clinics now. Miles, a friend, retired, so they took it over. So they ought to do pretty good at it. I mean, they've been going to those anyway, so they got a pretty good idea of what goes on. They were helping Miles last year with it. So we'll see. But they won't be coming on till toward around October 30th, I think it is. Greg, what's going on there? Anyway, question for tonight. Well, actually, two questions. First off, anybody know of any state-run railroads? And what constitutes a short line? We'll see what people have to say about that one. I know Georgia had several lines down here, but I mean, they weren't exactly state, I guess, but about the only one left now is central of Georgia, and they actually basically all they're doing now is just connecting Norfolk Southern to CSX, swapping stuff back and forth for them. And most of that activity, I think, is more down towards south. You know, you don't see them running up here in the northern part of the state at all. I've looked one time and saw where they still had lines connecting both the west and the east side of the state.
That's a couple.
John said the Cass Scenic Railroad used to be state run in West Virginia. Yeah, it doesn't have to be today. I mean, if it was years ago, that's fine too. Glenn said Texas State is run by the Parks and Wildlife Department. It's a state park railroad now. Is Amtrak really a state-run railroad? David said. Stu said that's West Virginia. The state owns a lot of rail here in West Virginia, but they run by the Durban and Greenbrier Railroad. They run several different areas. David says government funded. Yeah, I was kind of thinking that's what Amtrak was. Yeah, because Amtrak runs the whole nation, I think, pretty much. Well, I've been getting some more equipment in. Tomorrow I'm supposed to get some more in. Maybe I can get more videos up. Trying to get all these cameras connected on the workbench. See what I can do with that. I don't know exactly who all Amazon uses for their delivery. Well, I know they use FedEx, UPS, and the post office. Last week I was supposed to get stuff, and 2 different orders back to back. They went off into oblivion. Have no idea where they went. So I had to get refunds and reorder them again. So they're supposed to be here tomorrow, hopefully.
That's kind of one of the things that's been driving me crazy. Is like when they've been using the regular service, you know, they instead of their own, they're just kind of letting the other guys take care of it, and it takes longer to get here.
Yeah. Glenn wants to know what the name of my channel is. Wait a minute, Glenn. I gotta go get my wallet and see what my name is first. The name of my channel is Southeast Rails. I'm on YouTube, and I do have a Facebook. I don't do the Facebook that much, but I am on YouTube, as y'all well know. Unfortunately, I haven't been posting a whole lot of videos, but I'm going to try and get a few more done than what I've been doing. I'm fixing to, well, I've been kind of sort of working on the Imagine That Laser Arts Olympia Tool and Die Company. I've shot some video on that. I've been getting stuff painted up. That's kind of a unique build where you're painting everything ahead of time. I'm kind of following their instructions. Yeah. Yeah, that's right, Steve. Steve said there will be a video out next week on YouTube showing delivery service kicking my boxes down the street. Yeah. Well, for those that don't do Facebook, I mean, I'm on YouTube, same name, Southeast Rails. So what I post on one is posted on the others, so you're not missing anything. How you doing, Andrew?
Good, how about you?
I did see you slip in there.
Damn, I thought I could.
My peripheral vision hasn't gotten quite that bad yet.
Not yet?
No.
So did you get the question answered about what's a short line?
No.
No. Heck, anything nowadays, anything short of the big 4 railroads has got to be a short line, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I've never heard anybody really say, what constitutes a short line. Is it, they have to own less than 100 miles of track, or,
I don't think you have to do that much. Actually, I imagine some of them, even 100 miles is probably considered a short line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So. All right, Glenn, he said he just found me. Maybe Jason knows the answer to that, and he'll put it over here in chat. He's in chat right now. Kevin said that KCS is the smallest Class 1 railroad. That's interesting. Yeah, Steve said there's still one coal mine in central West Virginia that owns their own loco and delivers coal cars to the main line. I guess it would be a short line. And Jerry said that he thinks short line refers to the classification less than Class 1.
There's what Wikipedia says. Small or mid-sized railroad company that operates over a relatively short distance relative to larger national railroad networks.
Huh, okay. Makes sense. Glenn, there is a short line that runs in my old hometown. It hauls aluminum from Port Lavaca, Texas, up to the Lolita, Texas, about 15 miles. Yeah, y'all can tell I'm real good on names and all, but. Yeah, Brian said Raritan Central Railway serving industrial parks in Edison, New Jersey. What you say, Jason?
Oh, doing all right.
Yeah, well, you can go back to bed. We got the Wikipedia definition on that.
Well, short lines operates with the Class 1s.
Yeah.
So it'll serve like a shuttle service sometimes.
See, I think after the big mergers and everything else, it's almost like as if your Class 1 railroads wanted to be your long haul operators, and then leave the initial pickup and the final destination to your short line operators.
Yeah.
Except for maybe some very big customers.
Well, like the local short line here in where I live, Illinois Midland, that's a Genesee and Wyoming company.
Now, Genesee and Wyoming, you look at that, that's basically what they consider short line railroad. But look at all the railroads that make up Genesee and Wyoming.
Yeah, I know.
They're even in Australia.
Mm-hmm. But they bought out CNIM, Chicago, Illinois, Midland.
Yep.
And then they changed it over to Illinois Midland. And Chicago, Illinois, Midland was a short line. They serve from about Peoria, Illinois, all the way down to Pawnee, and then over to Taylorville. and when they connect up to Peoria, that's where see here, that would be Burlington Northern Santa Fe hooks onto, and they bring the coal train through on the short line to head towards Pawnee.
Yeah, Steve's got here the Allegheny in Ohio operates a large portion of the track in West Virginia that serves freight to CSX in Grafton.
Yeah, I looked just the other day at the Genesee and Wyoming, Yeah, see what their makeup is, and they're all over the country.
Yeah.
And like I say, Australia. So the ones being from Michigan, they're originally from Michigan. I looked to see what some of their lines were, and there's got 3 or 4 lines. Some of them don't even connect.
Hey, Big Bill. He just popped in.
We gotta watch out. Bossman is here.
Yeah.
Well, he'll have the right answer for us. If it's not long and island, then it's got to be a short line, right?
I guess next week I'll start the topic off with subways. Then we can get Big Bill in here. But should be a good topic anyway. Uh-oh. Bill just said that Todd Walton is in the hospital in the ICU. Bench of subways and not the sandwich shop, Bill. The transit system. Let me put it that way. The transit system, not subways.
There have been times with the way I build my bench work, I swear to God that I could actually probably do with the subway system in it. You're picking up all your structural strength with that bottom flange and top flange, and you can actually take out a lot of that center and create, stations, subway stops, and then expose them out through the face of the bench work.
Yeah. Hey, Ron from in Australia. He just popped in. Say hey to everybody. Talking about short lines, Ron. You got one you want to talk about?
There ain't nothing short down there.
Yeah, that's true. Well, sugarcane trains, I think they don't run them a long ways.
Are we talking about trucks, or are we talking about trains?
Yeah, down there they got trains.
Are we talking about truck trains or train trains?
Yeah, trains.
Possibly bad. Some of them truck trains probably exceed the length of train trains.
Yeah. Yeah, because Fishplate Films started putting up some videos on the sugarcane trains down there. And I thought it was rather interesting watching those. I kept looking at the car. It took me a while to figure out. I could see the cars that were hauling the sugarcane had no brakes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I noticed some of those trains are getting pretty doggone long, too. And they pretty heavy. And what I thought was a mule at the end of the train wasn't. That was the brakes. That was there for braking. Yeah, Bill said here's some trivia. The highest point in the subway is 9th Street and 4th Avenue at over 125 feet. The lowest point of the subway is 59th Street Tunnel. Be kind of interesting, on average, about how many times do you have to shut down part of the subway because of flooding?
Well, here's
The
a good
tunnels.
question.
Huh?
How many cities actually have subways?
Doesn't Chicago have some, Bob?
They got, that I know of. I don't know if they.
Yeah. Chicago has, well, in the downtown area, 2 of the colored lines actually are subways, but one of them actually in the north suburbs, north side of Chicago, actually goes under a couple times before it pops its head out again. That's the blue line. That goes out to O'Hare Airport. So we have a couple. Who else have them?
Jerry said Chicago has plenty. Filthy, too.
Yeah, they are. They've been renovating a lot of the stations, but it's still filthy.
Yeah. Bill said Japan, Paris, Soviet Union.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, those I suppose. I can't think of too many cities other than, like you say, Chicago and New York here in the U.S. that have any subways.
Well, yeah, Atlanta has some mass transit, and it does go underground in parts, so I guess you could call that a subway.
What about Washington, D.C.? Does theirs go underground?
Oh, Boston.
And okay. What about the BART system in California? Do they go underground?
No, that causes cancer. Or it can cause cancer.
Toronto have subways, Ralph?
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
We have a north-south and an east-west, and they're building a second east-west right now.
One of the guys in the chat here, I think it was Jerry, said the cleanest or the best subway he ever ran was one in Montreal.
He was never in Toronto then. Actually, the cleanest one, believe it or not, is in Soviet Union, in Russia. And their architecture is stunning in the stations.
Yeah. Well, if nobody noticed, we just switched subjects, so.
Okay.
So much for next week's. We need Bill in there on the panel, though, so he can talk.
Yeah, what are you doing out there? Join us in here.
Let's see what I can do.
Yeah, he said Japan as well for cleanness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Actually, Toronto's added a new. Although it's not underground, it's light rail. It goes from the downtown Union Station all the way out to the airport, and as the crow flies, it's probably about 20 miles. And there's 4 stops on the whole thing.
Yeah.
I forgot about St. Louis.
Yeah, St. Louis has a light rail system too.
Yeah, Glass just came in. How you doing? He said Tokyo Metro, it's the only subway system that he knows of that had a train derail due to strong winds.
Wow. You get that windy in the tunnels?
Well, I guess they pop out occasionally. Bill said TA has over 462 miles of rail.
But then again, you also talk about subways. Is what's really available in modeling.
We have a bridge that is part of our subway system that joins the east part of the city to the main west part of the city, and it goes through it goes over the Don Valley, which probably, I guess it's 3/4 of a mile, the bridge, and it was originally built, or well, it was completed and opened in October 1918. It's a double-deck bridge, and the guy that designed it, this was long before Toronto had subways, the guy that designed it made the lower deck for rail traffic. And when they put the subway in, that's exactly where it went, the lower part of the bridge. It's actually quite interesting ride when you go across the valley.
Glass said the line that he was talking about has a long above ground section which crosses at least one river pretty close to the shore. That's where it happens, but most other lines also handle storms quite badly. Ron just asked Bill if some of the subways at some stations are 3 levels. Bill said they cross the East River, the subway. Cross it or go under it.
They have no other place to go.
He said they travel over the Williamsburg Bridge and the Manhattan Bridge.
The man with the answers.
So down in the U.S., do you guys have a program that they call Doors Open, where a certain time of the year they'll open private things for the public to go in and view, and then it's closed the rest of the year? It's just the one day?
No.
We do.
Okay, but they
This weekend, they're doing it in Chicago.
Okay. They did it, I forget what year it was, that I ended up going through the subway system here in Toronto, Doors Open. The Queen Street station has 3 different levels, even though there's only one train that goes north-south through there. They planned it to have east-west go through there, and I don't know what the bottom one was, but you could go right down to the bottom, and it was spooky. It was like going through one of these Walking Dead movies.
What you're talking about in Chicago, they do with the architectural buildings.
Yes.
But on the subway, they can't do that here. But there are areas in the downtown district of Chicago and south end of the city there where they had planned to put the L a different direction from a subway point, and they had them already pre-planned, with the track and the switches, and most of the time they're just using them for storage. But back in, when the subway was built back in the 1930s and 40s, so they were all part of the original plans. They thought they were going to go all over the place from there. They just had to keep it under control. Officially, most of our elevated trains are elevated in the downtown area. There's just two colors, the red and the blue, which go subway in downtown, and then from there they work their way out to the neighborhoods.
Now, the next good question is, getting back to Johnny's original question, is a subway considered a short line?
Hey, that's a good one.
That's what Bill models. He effectively models the freight operation of the subway company prior to it being split off or whatever the current status of it is. What he models is the freight operation of that company.
Hey, dude, how you doing? Long time. Hope you're doing good. You and the family. Dude Lillard just popped in the chat.
Oh, I've heard of that guy. It's been a long time, man. What's up, dude?
That's somebody Big Bill ought to get on. Who's Big Bill talking to?
Explain what he's been up to. Kind of dispel the myth of the witness protection that we all think he's covered by.
Yeah.
That's why he doesn't go by a proper first name.
That's right. Well, obviously there's nothing mysterious about you, Mr. Doe.
Well, Glass is put here, is a subway a short line? Well, it technically serves a single city and likely is comparable to a system length to freight carrying short lines.
I don't know if you could call a commuter service a short line, though. You just have to call it commuter service, I think. I don't know. That's a linguistic argument, I think. It operates just like a short line, so I can't disagree with that. It just seems like there would be dedicated nomenclature would probably just be commuter service.
Depends on what era, because in Chicago, they used to CTA, which they used to do their own freight business in certain parts of the city before it was all shut down back in the late 60s, early 70s. They were servicing various industries along the track.
Well, a lot of these quote unquote commuter services, interurban, the electrics and interurbans were multi-towns. The goal there was to connect multiple towns together. So that really qualifies as short line service. But some of those were, not exactly class one, but were fairly sophisticated systems, fairly large systems. Some of them were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we used to have at least 3 or 4 in the Chicago area before they all went bankrupt in the 60s, 70s.
Yeah, everybody lost passenger service by the time Amtrak took over passenger service in 70. There wasn't much of it left.
Yeah, Bill said the TA had the contract to operate a freight operation on the New York waterfront back in the 50s. Glenn has asked, but does a short line own its own track?
Not necessarily. R.J. Corbin operates a lot of trackage of other people, and they are a leased operator. Or here in my hometown, used to be Illinois Central originally, Louisville and Nashville in the neighboring town, and the IC. And it's now run by the Paducah and Louisville. It's CSX owned trackage, but the Paducah and Louisville has a long-term contract on it. So they don't technically own the trackage. but they have a long-term contract, but they have to do all their own maintenance, but they don't own it. If you own all that trackage, you get a different designation by the Interstate Commerce Commission or whoever's, I think that's who's responsible for that, the ICC. But you get a different set of carriers and a different set of regulation if you own a lot of trackage. So a lot of these companies try to not own the trackage.
Probably helps them out tax-wise, too.
Yeah, taxes. Regulations is a big part of taxes. At least according to R.J. Corbin, I knew some of those guys. They're based out of Lexington. Or actually, they're based out of Nicholasville, Kentucky, the outskirts of Lexington. When I lived there, it was the fastest growing town in Kentucky. But and I lived about 4 or 5 miles away from R.J. Corbin and worked for people who worked for him and knew a lot about that. But tried to get a job there. Bet with them about getting a job once, but they weren't hiring at the time. But that was the thing. They had they owned a certain amount of trackage at the time, but they could not buy any more. They could only have like 80 more miles or something like that before they had to change for the regulatory status, and they couldn't be profitable. I think that's ideal for bottle. Like I think if you bottle the modern era, I think R.J. Corbin or the Paducah and Louisville, or there's a whole host of those. And the funny thing is, if you go back to 1950, there was like 190 or 192, 194, something like that, Class 1 designated railroads. Class 1 designated by the ICC. In 1950, there was 190 something Class 1 railroads in the United States. By 1980, there was like 6. That don't. Now we're seeing a resurgence of this, where the CSA, CNS, etc., are selling off these small, not very profitable short lines that they can't make a profit at, but R.J. Corbin and Paducah and Louisville are being wildly successful modeling them. I think it's ideal, if you go back to 1950, modeling one of those smaller lines like the Interstate Railroad, that's just an ideal modeling candidate. Me and Johnny went and visited Norman Stencil once down in Atlanta, and he said if he was to do it over again, he's like his is freelance. If he was to do it over again, he would model the interstate faithfully because it only had like 50 miles of track or 40 miles of track. In any reasonable room, you could do in a 10 by 10 room, 12 by 12 room, you could do some justice to that railroad modeling it prototypically. But even today, it'd be harder in the 70s and 80s when there wasn't a lot of secondary lines. But even today, if you modeled the R.J. Corbin, and there's
like I say, the other one would be Genesee and Wyoming lines.
That's right. Yep. There's a bunch of those. There's a bunch of those that have come up.
All over the place. Like I say, I looked at their website and it was surprising how far, what the extent of that railroad is, or the parent company is.
Yep. And then there's all these. They go through these merger and then democratization or distribution phases. It's kind of a rolling cycle. It's a cycle, and everything's a cycle. Bell bottoms haven't come back, but everything else is a cycle. So they go through these periods, and there's plenty of these little 15-mile stretches of railroad these days that if you get a small switching layout or a relatively small layout like Lee Boakler's building or something in that neighborhood, you could really do justice to something in a somewhat prototypical manner and still have a lot of leeway. Or if nothing else, even if you wanted to freelance, make one up and use one of those as the inspiration for it, instead of trying to model the Union Pacific. When I see these guys try to model, Cheyenne Mountain in their 10 by 10, in their 10 by 10 spare bedroom, man, that's tough to do believably. Trevor Marshall from Trammaster TV has a section on his website called "Achievable Model Railroads," or accomplishable or achievable. I think he calls it achievable. A lot of us bite off more than we can chew. We basically, most of us bite off more than we can chew. That's a good thing, but if you go after something that's achievable, that you could ever accomplish in a believable way. And these little short lines are just perfect.
And I'll tell you, this is, let's see if this shows up. This is what I was looking just the other day on Genesee and Wyoming. This is, you know, where I grew up. There you go, Genesee and Wyoming railroads in the Midwest region.
Which one is Genesee? Oh, okay. It's a bunch of small railroads. Are they multi-pay scheme, or do they have a single pay scheme? Oh, okay. I've seen that pay scheme. That bright orange pay scheme. I love that.
Yeah, and if you look at it, like I say, I don't know how much I can get, but look at all the, you know, here's one of them that connects with another one of them. This one never touches this one. There's a pretty good size one.
Yeah, they're both interstating with the CSX there. And CSX is bridging between those. So you just got all these little branch lines that are just serving the local industry.
Yep.
And if you like, you know, small industry switching, perfect. Because CSX is just going to drop you a block of cars and, you know, you go shout them where they go.
Yep.
And for a small switching line, it's spectacular.
We have a short line up here in Kitchener-Waterloo area that has markings on the locomotive similar to that.
Yeah. But I seen some of those locomotives when we were over at Amherst. I seen that paint scheme. That, you know, was probably just full power or something. But I seen a couple of those locomotives.
Hey, Marty. He just popped in the chat.
You're right, Andy. That paint scheme is, I like that. You know, the orange and the yellow.
Yeah.
Somebody already makes. I've already seen it on. You know, Bachman or somebody makes. Seems like it was Bachman. Maybe it was Ather. Right? They have locomotives for that paint scheme already. So.
I think Athearn and Atlas.
Okay. I knew somebody had it. It's a cool paint scheme. I dig it.
Now the question is anybody making decals for it? Because you can get so many different
Micro scale.
Yeah.
I would think so, yeah.
And if not, this day and age, you've got so many guys like, you know, Dave, who was on the Fine Scale show with us earlier this week, who does custom decals. But there's a bunch of people who do that. You can get decals about anything anymore.
Yeah. But that's all, like I say, that's Genesee and Wyoming lines, and it's kind of like you pick a, you know, if you had for their logo just a letter in there, then you could probably make up any line you want, any two cities, almost anywhere in the country.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not against freelance, but even if you're going to freelance, you need to take a railroad as inspiration, because trying to make it all up from scratch, it's tough to make it up from scratch and be believable.
Yeah, but what got me started looking at that was, you know, I've seen like on Ken Patterson's What's Neat and everything else, he had Ken Rubel, and he was a former CEO of Marquette Railroad in Michigan. And I started looking, I said, what the heck? I never heard of it. I mean, being somebody who was born and raised and knew the state of Michigan pretty darn good, I never heard of it. So I started looking into it. And I guess it was the old Pierre Marquette Railroad, which he acquired, or probably through public, or as a public corporation. And then I guess it was bought out by Genesee and Wyoming.
So whatever part of the PR Marquette the CSX didn't take over, or I'm sorry, C&O, right? C&O bought the PR Marquette, right?
I don't know. I don't know the story behind that one. There was always one that was not a very big railroad.
That's Phil Wyman. Everybody, Phil. That's one of his favorite railroads. He loves PR Marquette. Oh.
But then that gets back to the old thing, what I've been saying about your big four. which is what Norfolk Southern, CSX,
BNSF,
and Union Pacific. Before that, you had what they called it the Big Eight, which ended up becoming the Big Four, and then you go before that, and then you still had a lot of Class 1 railroads. So nowadays, are you looking at, as far as the Big Four railroad operation, is that mostly the long haul and the unit trains? You look at intermodal service, and that basically took, that's the railroads cooperating with the trucking companies, and that did, for the most part, did away with the boxcars.
Yeah, they won't. The big companies cannot make a profit servicing small industry. Yep. And that's what we like. Most of us like to operate is operate with small industry. These railroads can't be profitable doing that. So,
hey, Andy.
Sir.
Glenn McFerrin's asked Andy, "Are you tying your shoes?" LOL. I personally can tell you that Andy is height challenged. He doesn't have to bend over to tie his shoes.
That's right. There you are. Elevationally challenged. That's right. I guess I can let y'all see what I'm missing. All right.
But like I say, if you look at your Class 1 railroads nowadays, how many times you see what you would really call mixed freight?
Oh, virtually none. And if any, and it's not being switched. It's just in transit if it does exist.
Yeah.
So, and that's not very interesting for us to. It's fine to model it, and most people who are building labs like, or most operators like to do industrial switching. I personally don't. I do like operational railroads, but I like operating road trains. But if you're just operating unit trains of containers, that's why I'm not interested in modern railroading, because it's kind of boring looking to me. But it doesn't have to be.
Hey, Lee. Yeah, y'all mentioned his name. He pops in. Glenn said, "Nothing wrong with being short. You're the last one to get rained on."
Yeah, there you are. That's what I say. I'm short, but I don't butt my head very much. So take what benefits you can get. And Lee popped in for me just saying his name one time. I thought I had to say his name 3 times.
What are you doing, track work?
Yeah, I popped a couple of times. I got kind of overzealous when I was messing this last night. Popped a couple tie plates off, so I patched these couple tie plates in, and I'm ready to stick some rail on the helper pocket. But I got to stick a little bitty rail on it, or well, I don't know about little bitty. It's code 70 rail. It's not that small. Get some rail on it, get it balanced, because I made a bunch of changes to this. I cut the road bed and put a dip in it. So the center track is depressed. Center track is depressed, and it slopes down from up here, and I've got a slip switch to go in up there. I was figuring that out last night. I cut me a bunch of paper templates for figure out what size. So I done this a long time ago and cut the road bed a couple years ago. I don't remember what I did. So I made me a number 5 and a number 6 and a number 8. And I think the number 8 slip's going to work. I may have to use the number 6. I'm not positive. But I got to make a slip switch that goes in front of the interlocking there. It's got a slip switch. And then whatever turnout this has to be, I just got a 6 laid there. See where it's going to work out to going into the. So this is the Clinchfield Railroad coming up and crossing over. Then the Clinchfield's in front going through town. But this is the Clinchfield. This is Norfolk and Western. They come up to the interlocking tower, and there's a single slip switch. Nobody makes a template for a single slip, though, so my templates are doubles, but I'm going to build a single. And then between the tracks here is a helper pocket, so I depress the helper pocket, so it slopes down from here down to maybe a 1/4 inch, if that. Maybe 3/16, 1/4 inch, and then it comes back up because there's another turnout about right here. There's enough room in that pocket for 2 locomotives, but it's a really interesting operational scheme. I'll be able that helper will be able to run autonomously from jam or I, so it'll be like moving scenery. So when a northbound Clinchfield train comes through, automatically. Whenever I use the board system, it'll go through. It'll disappear off the layout. It goes up to this Y that's up above me here. It goes up there, that arch bridge that's setting up out of the hole. It goes across that arch bridge. It goes back down and into staging. On the prototype, the train would clear that Y and go on up the valley about a half mile, because there's a natural dip in the track work where the train could stop and kind of self-balance there, and it was easier to get the train restarted. But when the train passes, all automatically, comes out of staging, goes around the layout, goes back to staging without a human ever having to touch that. There's more trains running than there are humans in the room. Once it goes past, JMRI will throw the turnout, make the helper locomotive run up through there, and it'll run out of sight, wait 15, 20 minutes, then drift back down, stop at the water tower, and then go back to the helper pocket. All while you're just standing there while you're running your other trains.
So what are you using to make your turnouts? I suppose you are making your turnouts.
Oh yeah, yeah. I use so on headline. It depends on what you're doing, but for hidden track work, fast tracks, man. I don't think you can beat fast tracks turnouts for the physics, for the mechanical engineering of it. The fast tracks turnout is super reliable. But for my visible turnouts, I'm not using fast tracks. But what I use cast points and cast frog. So on a prototype turnout, the stock rail is not cut. So a second, I'll show you the difference. But the on the prototype, the stock rails are left whole, and the point is molded. It has a little Bezier curve kind of thing going on, where it kind of wraps around the stock rail. But what we do on fast tracks turnouts, for example, is carve out a gap with the stock rail so that point is dug up into.
Yep.
And while that's good mechanics, it's not prototypically correct. So what I do, I use a cast point. So like a fast tracks turnout has part of the rail removed, where the point stugs into that gap. The bottom of the foot of the rail has the one side of the foot of the rail and a little bit of all the way into the web cut away. So there's a part of that rail is filed away. You can see it where it makes the change right there. So this point gets snug up into that rail. On the prototype, however, the point actually has this curvature to it, so it snugs up the rail. So I used cast points that have that curvature built into them. They're real fine, real sharp, and they will cut you. But I keep my stock rails pure or whole. And then I use for the frog. I use a cast frog. It's a single piece of manganese frog. All the bolts, all that stuff that should be there. Now you could get most of the way to where I get with my track work without having to custom build it from scratch with all the crazy parts I do. You could take a commercial turnout and use the Central Valley or the Micro Engineering turnout detail parts. Because there's some really cool parts on an actual turnout. The rail braces and hook tie plates and stuff that are all around the points, and the 2 or 3 throw rods that are between the points instead of the bar that we use that's not prototypical at all. You can make them look much better with some detail parts added to a commercial turnout. But I go all the way. I know that'll shock you guys, but I do.
Goes all the way.
Yeah, a turnout has on track work. There's 502 parts for 3 feet, and a turnout like a number 8 turnout has 110, 115 parts in a number 8. If you've got all those tie plates and then the little rail braces and the throw bar. Each throw bar is 3 pieces, and there's 3 of those. Then the frog, and then the bolt detail on the side of the frog. And there's a lot of stuff going on a turnout when done properly. And your guardrails will have rail braces on the insides of the guardrail, and that's what makes it look so awesome. I mean, looking at a prototype turnout in a picture, there's so much going on there. It just looks like a piece of, you know, if you're a kind of person that thinks engineering masterpieces look like artwork, I'm one of those people. Then a turnout is or a switch, spectacular. They're beautiful, but you need the detail parts.
Oh, that's a container car, isn't it? Yeah, that's a piggyback. Jason.
Not really.
Is it a well or a spine?
No, it's on a flat car.
Just a flat car.
Yeah.
But he had the container upside down. I was trying to figure out what in the world that was.
It'll be a swimming pool.
They turned it right side up. I could see what it was.
Yeah. I was putting planks on the bottom of it so I could put it on a flat car, and I'm going to leave it on there. I'm going to glue it on it.
You could.
That's going to be a tool.
Could you make it where those are? You know, I've always thought. See, I like magnets. I think magnets are fascinating. I always thought it'd be a good idea to take your stacks and put magnets in them. You know, correctly opposed, so that you can stack them up and let magnets do all the work. You just stick a container on top, and it had magnets in it. The one on below would have the correctly polarized magnet on the top of the bottom container. It'd give you weight, and then stick that stick the top container on. Magnets would hold it all together.
Hey,
There's pins on
Cloverdale.
them.
Yeah, Cloverdale just popped in. He said, I think the Southern Railway in BC qualifies as a short line.
There's a railroad called the Southern Railroad.
Southern Railway.
Right. I
Right,
thought the
said.
Southern Railway a long time ago. Kinda.
And
We have one in Ontario called the Southern Railway.
Yeah. Glass over in Japan said, I second the magnet idea.
I just think magnets are fascinating. Anytime you could use them. I'm using magnets to throw my turnouts with. I use couplers that are controlled magnetically. And I've got that magnetic road bed system I'm going to put under the track on the helix, so I can put magnets in the locomotives to get better tracking effort. And I'm going to play with using it to control weight in cars. So if I put magnets on there, they will adhere to the track real well on the steep grades.
Well, looks like we're kind of waning down here. And we're coming up on the 1 hour mark. So I guess y'all have to tune in next week, see if Andy's finished this piece of track work here. Or if he knocks more fish plates off.
Yeah, I think I got this ready. I've got to start sticking rail on it here. I might get it tonight, probably tomorrow before I put rail on it. Tune in next week.
Alrighty, so I guess we'll go ahead and wrap this one on up. Be sure and tune in next Wednesday, October the 17th, for Joe's train room. He and the track planner, we got another installment going. Ready to let that one go. And we'll have some more trains moving during the show too, to demonstrate what they've been talking about. So that'll be at 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern time. So, and of course we got the Thursday night show. Like I said, we're kind of finalizing on the scheduled date for Barry and Mike D to be on Who's Big Bill Talking To, but it looks like we're shooting for October the 30th. So they'll be coming in and talk about what they're doing for the what's that big show in January?
Amherst.
Amherst, since Miles, a friend, retired Mike and Barry are they're trying to take it over and keep it going. So, and Bill has told me he's talked to a few other people too. They seem to be rather interesting. So, with that said, y'all have a good weekend, and we'll see you next week on the 17th for Joe's Train Room. Y'all have a good one.